There we go. Did it come through your speaker when it said that too?
Okay, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
How you pronounce your last name again? Ballright?
Ball Rick.
Ballright, okay. Five, four, three. Two. The Detroit Lions, they're looking to have a bounce back season after not making the playoffs or not even going far in the playoffs last year. So quickly, we're talking about their schedule, their 2026 schedule. A lot of expectations for this group. I am here with lifelong Detroit sports fan, Jeremy Ballrick. Did I get that right? Did I get it
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, there we go. So Jeremy, this is the second time we chat, but the first time it was months ago. We were getting to know one another. But quickly tell our audience here, um, for how long you've been a Detroit sports fan, and just quick, short, brief summary.
My Detroit fandom started early because my dad had me watching Detroit sports since I was 5 years old on his lap. So I am at 51 years of fandom in the Detroit sports, whether it's Tigers, Lions, Red Wings, Pistons. I watched them all. Um, and now I expanded my brand. I not only talk Lions, but I do talk Tigers, Pistons, and Red Wings as well too. I expanded my brand to be the KCB Sports Network to cover all four major pro sports teams.
Right. Fantastic. Fantastic. So I'm definitely looking forward to us talking about the Red Wings in the future because from a hockey standpoint, the Rangers are my favorite team, but the second alternate team is the Red Wings. I've always respected their franchise, lots of history with them. So in the future, I'll definitely will keep that in mind.
Both good and bad right now because we just set the franchise record for longest playoff drought.
Yeah, yeah, man. Steve Eiserman, knowing the competitor that he is not going to rest until he gets something done. So it's gonna be another long off season for him, but it'll be
Mm-hmm.
very interesting, very interesting. So definitely we're gonna keep an eye on that.
Yep.
But let's get down to the nitty gritty, Jeremy. In your case, what are your 3 to 5 compelling matchups in this Lions schedule?
Well,
And what are your thoughts on
the first Thursday night prime football game for the home opener versus the Bills in week 2. That's a marquee matchup. Um, I'm hoping it's just like we see out of the Bills every year. They have that little 3-week flounder period where you don't know their identity yet. And with new coaching, it may be that. So I'm hoping that's what it is. So my Lions can walk in and leave the fans with a sour taste in their mouth with a loss. But that one, I'm intrigued about going to play Carolina because Carolina played a lot of good teams really tough there in Carolina. Of course, the Packers coming here on October 25th, the Thanksgiving Day game. I want us to get past this, have more than one winning year in a row. That's what I want. Yeah, I gotta see it. And then of course, I think week 18 ends up deciding the division between the Packers and Lions. Uh, I don't like I like and I don't like the moves of the Vikings and the Bears. And the reason why it shows a vote of no confidence in JJ McCarthy bringing in a veteran like Kyler Murray. Yes, it's on a vet minimum deal and it's like a prove it deal for him. But they already said basically JJ's his backup. That has to mess with a first round pick that was picked in the top 10 with his mindset in the NFL.
and JJ McCarthy, one thing I've noticed about him is that for his age, he speaks very maturely, especially in front of the press.
Mm-hmm.
And so he embodies and represents, what the Minnesota Vikings need as a quarterback. And before he got drafted, he just won a national title with the Michigan Wolverines.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate that injuries happen. It's super unfortunate, especially when you right there when you make it to the big leagues. It's very tough. So I feel for the kid, but he's gonna bounce back some way, somehow, whether it's in a Minnesota uniform or elsewhere. And we have seen many times in history, Jeremy, where when resilience is there, when a player is resilient, there's no holding him back. So I see that in him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I feel that he will find success in the NFL no matter what team he plays for. But he is all about the best thing I could say is that he just needs to control what he can control, take care of his body, and hopefully he doesn't suffer any more devastating injuries after this one. So, but there's something you were gonna say.
Yeah. On top of that, we just had two recent instances of actually three. The resurgence of Geno Smith with Seattle. Yes, he fell off after going to Oakland. We don't know what he's going to be with the New York Jets because we don't know who the New York Jets are yet. Baker Mayfield, he bounced around and ended up in Tampa, had a great time. And then back-to-back resurgence for Sam Darnold, who was considered washed after being with the Jets, goes to Minnesota, wins them 14 games, and then does 13 games out there with Seattle and wins the Super Bowl.
Sometimes it's all about being in the right situation.
Yep.
So Sam Darnold has been a fantastic story. All those ones that you mentioned are great examples. But Sam Darnold winning the Super Bowl puts the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Because he wasn't a Heisman winner. He wasn't considered a top 5 quarterback coming out in college that could go straight into the pros and be great. He was just considered he could be good. And the type of quarterback that could get a team there if they had the right pieces around him is exactly what was said when he was drafted by the Jets. And he proved it. He almost did it with Minnesota, but there was a couple pieces missing. There still is. As far as I'm concerned, they made a mistake letting Sam Darnold walk out the door.
Yep, and he got the last laugh in that one. So
yeah, the double whammy. We beat him in week 18, and then they bounced out versus the Rams.
Oh man. But that's the beauty about sports. You just don't know what player or what team is going to rise to the occasion. You just don't know. I love the unpredictability about sports.
And that's why I have my window of wins this year for the Lions. I do it as a window. I don't like locking it in when you really haven't seen the team play or injuries or how the scheme goes. We haven't even seen a preseason game yet. So when it's before the preseason, I do a window of wins. I think we're at least, because of the schedule, one game better than last year, which would automatically have put us in the playoffs last year. So I think we're a 10 to 13 win team. Looking at the schedule, I see that. I see no less than 10 wins.
Fair enough.
I just, the only thing I don't like is having the bye week in week 6 and then having the overseas international game in week 10, because weeks 10, 11, and 12, we play 3 games within 12 days.
It's not easy to come up with a schedule, especially when you have to consider all 32 teams. So that's why I got to a point as a sports fan that, I'm not gonna make a too big deal out of schedules because it's way too much. It's a lot of things to consider. So here are 4 games that I feel that could be interesting. And I liked your list. My 4 are, it's a 4 plus an honorable mention. So I have week 4 versus the Panthers, which is an NBC game, prime time.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers really surprised many people, especially me, in the postseason. Surprising performance by Carolina. They have a bright future if they play their cards right.
And I love their additions this offseason. I think they did very well. The only one I question, because of how well he played at the end of the season, well, their starting center got hurt, and I believe it was either week 10 or week 11. The last 6 games they played, he had Cade Mays, the guy we picked up in free agency, for our starting center. And if you actually look at his grades through the last 6 games he played, He was a top 10 center in the league. If you look at his overall grade, it looks awful because he played 75% of his snaps at guard next to a center that didn't communicate as well. And there was some bad, that's why they struggled so mightily early. If you remember right, they were struggling the first part of the season. And then all of a sudden they went on that run that made their playoff run because they had 3 wins at week 9. Everybody wrote them off.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And granted, 2 of those wins were against teams that were number 1 seeds in the NFL at the time. And everybody just sort of let that slip past their memory that they beat 2 really good teams out of the 3.
Many people thought that it was a fluke, but that's a big accomplishment, especially for a young Panthers team that is slowly, developing and growing. So it's either they're going to pick up where they left off, or it's just going to be one of those where things are not going to go right for them. But regardless, I have week 4 as a potential compelling matchup, NBC primetime game. So that should be fun. I have that one. I have week 10 versus the Pats, international game, 9:30 a.m. I have week 11 versus Tampa. There's something about Tampa versus Detroit that just excites me these last few seasons. So I have that one as well. The 4th one, Thanksgiving game against the Chicago Bears. The Lions, they had to get that one. They had to. I feel like out of all the ones, that one is a must. You have to win that game.
That's to establish that dominance of who taught Ben Johnson how to coach.
And my honorable mention is week 7 versus Green Bay, which is we playing at home. So yeah, those are the ones that I have right there. But yeah, a lot of good games there.
I'm going to make a bold statement because we've seen this before. How often do the Super Bowl losers make the playoffs the next year? You don't. It's happened twice in 60 Super Bowls. I don't think the Patriots make the playoffs this year. I think they'll be second place in that terrible division because let's face it, the Jets and Miami are awful. Bills are the cream of that crop consistently right now since Tom Brady left the Patriots. I just think the coaching scandal that's going on right now and everything is going to play into this season on them. I think Drake May is fine. I don't think it'll be his fault. But I think there's going to be a drop-off from last year.
The Buffalo Bills, they just need to finally get over that hump. They need to get their act together. They really do. They had their chance. I feel like last year they had their chance. That was the moment. As much
no
as
Ravens, no Chiefs. No Ravens, no Chiefs.
Jeremy, I'm the type of person that I want a team. I don't care if you lost them 3-4 years in a row. I want you to go through them to get that ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs, it bothered me because I want the Bills to go through them.
Right.
I'm that person. I'm that competitor. I want to see that. But I said, okay, Chiefs, no playoffs. Strangely. But okay, let's see if the Bills can go away, and they didn't. So I'm looking at them this year. What are you gonna do?
I think the Broncos and the Bills and the Chargers are the 3 best teams coming into this season right now with where they left off. The only question mark you have with Bills is the coaching continuity change because they changed head coach, they changed offensive coordinator, and they changed defensive coordinator. I don't know if it'll be the same mindset.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me to talk a little bit about the Detroit Lions schedule.
Yes.
Hopefully they bounce back. I like seeing teams that, especially that struggle for so many years, finally contend. I really hope that they get back into playoff or even better Super Bowl contending conversation this year.
Oh, same here. And the odds makers already said the betting line for prior to the season starting is 10.5 over under for the Lions. So if you are a betting man and you listen to what I said, it sounds like they'll probably hit the over. I would bet the over now while the odds are in your favor instead of waiting for the odds to drop and there you don't get even money or better. Right now, it's better than even money to place your bet. And I'm not saying to bet your mortgage. I'm not that guy. Bet responsibly. Bet what you can afford to lose.
There, stop recording right there.